If you're interested in glowing up, then I'm Celeste Louw, and this is Brave Enough.
I've realized something about myself. When a question gets into my head, it doesn't leave me alone. It follows me around. I'll hear someone say something in a meeting, or I'll be talking to a survivor. Maybe I'm listening to the news, scrolling through social media. Maybe I'm reading a comment, or even catching myself reacting to something. And before I know it, it's this little question that pops into my head. Who told you that? Sometimes I'm asking the other person, but quite often, if I'm honest, I'm asking myself. And the more I've asked that question, the more I've realized that it's probably one of the most important questions we can ask ourselves. Not because everything we've been taught is wrong. It isn't. Some of the beliefs I grew up with are the very things that anchor my life: integrity, kindness, responsibility, respect, compassion. Those are values I'm grateful for. But there are plenty of other beliefs that I've realized I've never actually examined. They were just there, so familiar that I mistook them for truth. And that's what fascinates me. How much of what we believe is actually ours? Think about it for a moment. When my stepfather passed away, it was like a rug was pulled out from under me, because suddenly I realized how much of what I thought was true wasn't actually true, and how much I believed that was just fiction that was put into my brain by someone who was trying to control me. So I want you to think about that for a minute. How do you define success? What does being a good parent look like? What makes someone a good leader? What makes our relationship healthy? What does it mean to be strong? Where did those ideas come from? Have you ever stopped long enough to ask yourself why you believe what you believe? Not what you know, what you believe. Because those are two very different things. The more I've reflected on my own life, the more I've realized that none of us arrive in the world believing anything. We learn it, we absorb it, we imitate it. As children, we trust. We don't have the experience to question whether the adults around us are actually right, if what they're telling us is actually true. We don't analyze culture or challenge social norms. We simply learn how the world works from the people and environments around us. We learn from our parents, our teachers, our faith system, our culture, our friends, and our workplaces. Most of all, we learn from those minutes of silence. Because sometimes it isn't what is said that teaches us, as much as what is not said. If nobody ever tells a child they're enough, they grow up believing they're not. If a little boy learns that crying makes people uncomfortable, he doesn't just stop crying, he starts believing that emotion is weakness. If a little girl learns that keeping everyone else happy is more important than having a voice, she carries that lesson into adulthood. Nobody has to sit them down and say those words. Nobody has to tell them that this is right or this is wrong, because they learn it by experiencing it, because life teaches them anyway. That's how beliefs are formed. And here's what I think happens. Somewhere along the way, opinions quietly become facts, and success should look like this. Real men don't cry. Good women don't make people uncomfortable. Hard work means working yourself into exhaustion. Leaders should always have the answers. You should have your life together by 30. Marriage means this. Parenting means that. Money equals success. Being independent means never asking for help. Who decided? At what point did someone else's opinion become our reality? You know, people often assume that because I challenge things today, I've always been that person. Nothing could be further from the truth. I was terrified of getting things wrong. Not the big things, the little things. Saying the wrong thing, buying the wrong coffee, responding the wrong way, breaking some invisible social rule that everybody else seems to understand except me. I worry about disappointing people, even today, about fitting in and saying yes when I should have said no, or no when I should have said yes, making the right decision. Looking back now, I can see I spent an enormous amount of time and energy trying to become the person I thought everybody else expected me to be. I became so busy trying to fit in that I almost forgot who I actually was. And here's what I've come to realize. It wasn't confidence that I lacked. It was permission. Permission to question. Permission to disagree. Permission to be different. To think differently. Permission to just be myself. Life is an interesting way of teaching us those lessons. I found myself at the rock face of the anti-apartheid movement, where I saw firsthand what happens when societies begin questioning beliefs that people have accepted for generations. And years later, I found myself once again at the rock face of social change, working to combat that deeply rooted societal breakdown that sits beneath every form of abuse. And whether I'm talking about apartheid, gender-based violence, leadership, parenting, or personal healing, I keep seeing the same pattern. Every system is built on beliefs. Every culture, every family, every workplace is built on beliefs. Some of those beliefs create freedom, but some create fear. Some protect people, and others silence them. And every meaningful change I've ever witnessed started because somebody was brave enough to ask a question everyone else had stopped asking. Who told you that? I see it in survivors all the time. One of the cruelest things about abuse is that it doesn't only leave bruises, it leaves beliefs. It was my fault. I'm not enough. Nobody will believe me. I deserved it. I'm broken. Those beliefs rarely arrive in a single sentence. They're built over years through words, action, manipulation, control, criticism, and silence. Healing isn't only about recovering from what happened. It's also about questioning the beliefs that happened because of it. Who told you that you're broken? Who told you that you're too much? Who told you that nobody will ever love you? Who told you your past gets to decide your future? Those questions matter because sometimes healing begins the moment we realize that the voice in our head isn't actually ours. It belongs to someone who no longer deserves that much influence over our lives. I see exactly the same thing in leadership. We've inherited beliefs there too. Belief that leaders should never change their minds, that being busy means being productive, and that working longer means working better, that asking for help is a weakness. What about that having authority means having all the answers? Really? Or are those simply ideas we've inherited from another generation? Maybe leadership today requires something different. Maybe curiosity is more valuable than certainty. Maybe listening is more powerful than talking. Maybe admitting you don't know creates more trust than pretending you do. And while we're questioning beliefs, let's not pretend social media isn't shaping them every single day. We've swapped parents and teachers for algorithms and influencers. Every day someone is telling us what success looks like, how our body should look, how our relationships should be, how much money we should earn, how productive we should be, who we should vote for, what we should be angry about. And the question isn't whether we're being influenced. We are all being influenced every day. The real question is this: who have you given permission to shape your thinking? Now, before anyone misunderstands me, this isn't an invitation to reject everything you've ever been taught. Far from it. Some beliefs deserve protecting. Integrity, kindness, responsibility, they matter. Respect, it matters. Compassion still matters. This isn't about becoming rebellious. It's about becoming intentional. Choosing what you carry forward instead of carrying everything by default. And maybe that's what growing up really is. Not collecting more beliefs, but having the courage to examine the ones you already have. So this week, I'm not asking you to change your mind about anything. I'm simply inviting you to become curious. The next time you hear yourself say, "I'm too old," "I'm not good enough," that's just the way people are. That's the way we've always done it. Or "I could never." Just pause. Before you accept it as truth, ask yourself one simple question: who told you that? Because it might still be true, but it also might be the belief that's been quietly shaping your life without your permission. And questioning it just might change everything. I'd love to hear from you. What's one belief you've questioned that changed the way you see yourself, the way you work, or the way you see the world? Because I have a feeling we've all got one. And your story might just be the permission someone else needs to start asking the same question. Who told you that?
If you or someone you know needs help, contact the Tears Foundation on 08000 83277, 24/7, free and confidential. If this meant anything to you, if it touched you or made you learn and grow, then maybe you want to like, follow, or share it with someone who might need it. I'll see you next week. Be brave enough.